Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be with you and the blessings of God. A-level maths live lesson. Today's topic is factorizing. Today is the last lesson for a week, so no lessons next week due to half term. But today let's have a look at factorizing. We started yesterday with some basic factorizing, and today it's going to go a little bit more, get a bit more complicated, so inshallah you'll enjoy it, God willing. Let's have a look. We will just do a quick recap from yesterday. If I have to factorize the following, let's say I've got 6x plus x squared, nice and easy to start with. If you want to spend just a minute and tell me what the answer would be for factorizing 6x plus x squared. Okay, feel free to type it into the chat window. Okay, hopefully in your head or whatever you're doing it on paper, you'll have seen that there is a factor that's common that can be used to make both the 6x and the x squared, and that factor is x. So we want to pull out the x, and we'd have the x as the common factor being pulled out. So we'd have x, and then how is x the common factor? Well, x can build 6x, x can make 6x by timesing by 6, so we'll need a 6 here, and to make the x squared we'd have to have x. So common factor was the x that was pulled to the front from the 6x and the x squared. And then in the brackets, what do we need to times by the common factor of x? We need to do times 6 to get the 6x and times x to get the x squared. So final answer is there. And today, it's just going to look a little bit different, but it's the same principle that's going to apply, inshallah. So let's see if I can show you how it's going to be a bit different today. So I'm going to take pretty much the same question, 6x plus x squared, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put brackets around the x. Hopefully you agree that, or you'll not really be worried by this, because 6 bracket x is the same thing as 6 times x, and bracket x squared is the same thing as x squared. So putting the brackets around the x didn't really change anything, it just makes it look a little bit different. It's got brackets in when before it didn't have brackets in. So how would we factorize this? Well, we'd look for the common factor, and it would be the x, but it's probably easier to put the common factor as not just x, but the x with the brackets around it, since that's common to both. X and x without the brackets, it's really no different. So if we put the brackets in, it shouldn't make a difference. If we put the brackets out, it shouldn't make a difference. So let's put the brackets in, and we'll say that the common factor we're going to pull out is the x with the brackets, and how is that the common factor? Well, you've got this x has been pulled out with the brackets and this x has been pulled out with the brackets. So then what's left? Well, to make the 6 bracket x, we're going to need to times by a 6. And then to make the bracket x bracket squared, we're going to need to times by an x. The same answer as before, not too different. Just it looks a bit different because you've got brackets here. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. And then let's go just one stage further and let's just make this a bit smaller. And then the final stage we want to go to before, just so that you're understanding what the principle is. Before we had 6x plus bracket x squared. I'll put the squared on in a second. So just come back to the x. Suppose that instead of just x in the bracket, I had, let's say, plus 1. And plus 1 in the bracket there. And now let's put that squared in. So now suppose I wanted to factorize this. Think about what you did last time. You noticed the x bracket was the common factor and you pull that out to the front. And then what was left is what we needed to get the x. And the second thing to multiply to get what we had. So here, what's the common factor here? Can you spot the common factor that we would pull out? If you can, please type it in. Okay, a little bit shy today, but hopefully you can see, just like before, the common factor was x and x, so we pulled out x. In the second example, the common factor was bracket x, because bracket x is a factor in both, so that's what we pulled out to the front. The bracket x gets pulled out to the front. So in the third example, what's the common factor? It's the bracket x plus 1, the whole bracket. That's the common factor, the x plus 1. So that's exactly what we'd pull out to the front. And we'd say the common factor is bracket x plus 1. So that would come out to the front. And then inside the second bracket, we'd say, okay, what do I need to multiply with the x plus 1 to get my first term? And I need a 6. I need to times by 6. So there's your 6. And then comes the plus. And then what do I need to multiply by the x plus 1 to get the second term, the x plus 1 squared? Think about that one. When it was bracket x squared and I had bracket x at the front, I needed another x to multiply with. So here, what do I need to get x plus 1 squared? If I've already got x plus 1, well, I'm going to need another x plus 1. So you could put it in brackets, x plus 1. You probably don't need to because there's nothing really around the brackets, but we'll just put it in anyway. So that's it, that's your answer, and just show you what we pulled out. We had x plus 1 here, That was a common factor, so we pulled that out to the front, and that left the 6 to go inside the bracket. X plus 1 squared is really x plus 1 times another x plus 1, so we can see one of them is a common factor, so we pull that out, just like we pulled out the x plus 1 from there, and that would leave another x plus 1 to multiply with. Hopefully you're okay with that. So the difference today is yesterday we were pulling out just letters, x's, or maybe numbers as well, so 3x, 5x. But here we're pulling out a complete bracket to the front. And if you're comfortable with that idea that you can pull out a complete bracket, then let's have a go at a question that I want you to be able to be comfortable with today. So let's say I want you to factorize x minus 3, 2x minus 5 plus x minus 3 times 7. So just have a think about that, and when you're ready, let me know what you think the common factor would be, and let me know what you'd pull out to the front, and what would the second bracket look like, what would it have inside. Just a few more seconds. Okay, bismillah. Hopefully you've spotted a common factor. I'm just going to take the wording out just to make a bit of space. Common factor in both is the, you tell me, if you know. It's the x minus 3 bracket. So just here you've got x minus 3 bracket and an x minus 3 bracket. So that's your common factor. We can pull that out to the front, and we'll have our common factor at the front here, x minus 3. And then what do we need to begin with in our next bracket? Well, the first term is bracket x minus 3 times bracket 2x minus 5. I've already got the bracket x minus 3, so I'm going to need a 2x minus 5. You can put that in brackets if you want. You could put that in brackets. You don't have to. And then then there's a plus. And then what do I need to make my second term? Second term is 7 bracket x minus 3. I've already got my x minus 3 bracket. So the only thing I need is the 7, and just to emphasize that second pair of brackets can disappear. It's fine if it's not there, but I'm just going to keep it in. And that's your answer. Hopefully not too different to what you've seen already. The x minus 3 is the common factor, so that gets pulled out from each of the two terms. That comes to the front, and then what's left? The 2x minus 5 can go here, and the plus 7 can go there. And then the last example for today, the wording's a bit different on this one, but it's the same thing. We want to factorize express this as a product of factors just means to factorize it, look for the common factor, try to pull it to the front and fill in the rest of the bracket. Have a think about this one for a minute, and then I'll see whether you've got any of the answer. I'll just rewrite it while you think and try it yourself. The question is, express y plus a squared x minus a cubed plus x minus a squared as a product of factors. Have a think for a few more seconds, see if you can scribble something down, and then if you're done, type it into the chat box. Hopefully you've spotted the common factor. A little bit hard to spot correctly on this one. You'll probably get a version of it, but to get the exact version you'd probably have to just look carefully at the powers. And looks like Aisha's done well there, so let's see how this goes. Let's make a bit of space. And the first thing, what's the common factor? Aisha got it right. Common factor here would be, you can see both have got an x minus a bracket, but if you look at the powers carefully, then there's a power 3 here on the bracket and a power 2 here. So the common the power that they both have, that's common to both, is 2. So that's what we want to take out and bring to the front. And let's do that. So we've got x minus a bracket squared. That's the common factor. So then when we look at just the first term, what else do we need to multiply with the x minus a squared so that I get that first term? Well, I'm going to need another x minus a, and I'm going to need a y plus a squared. So let's go with y plus a squared, and I need an x minus a bracket. Okay, so that's the first term produced, and then comes the plus, and then what do I need to produce that second term? I've got x minus a squared already, and all I need is an x minus a squared, so what am I going to multiply it with? I can't multiply it with 0, but that's going to get nothing, so it's just 1. I just need 1 to multiply it with. And that's your answer. Okay, hopefully it was a little bit new to you, which is good. That's part of learning. If it was a little bit over your head, then feel free to watch the video again. Sometimes it takes 2 attempts. Sometimes you have to read something or watch something twice, maybe even 3 or 4 times, and then then you'll see it sink in and you'll understand it on the second time, something that you didn't understand the first time. So persevere, keep trying, and you'll get there, inshallah. If you did understand it first time, well done. Then you need to do some practice. We're working through the chapter on algebraic manipulation and expressions. So while you've got your week off, this week you need to be aiming to work through these questions in this chapter. I'll just show you which chapter it is. So it's chapter 3 on algebra, and the idea is you should be doing half a chapter a week, so by the end of next week you should have finished all the questions, working through all the questions, and be ready to start chapter 4 next time, inshallah. I'll still go through all the examples, but in the week that you've got off, that's enough time to get up to speed with all the practice questions you need to do. And don't wait for me to go through them. The examples are pretty clear, so just read through them and try to keep up to pace of doing working through a chapter of questions every 2 weeks, inshallah. And the next lesson will be not this Monday, but the Monday after. So that's, let me quickly work it out, 16, 17, 18, 19, so that's the 26th of October, inshallah, at 9 p.m. Thank you for joining. See you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be with you and the blessings of God.